We
get
are
the link.
live.
Let me get the link for this one now and throw it out there. God damn it! Gotta hate that. Oh wait, what? Okay, so we're not live right now.
It says we are. Let me just take a quick look.
Yeah, I'm getting the. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm getting the notification. All right. Sorry
All
about that.
right. Hey, these things happen.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately. All right. Let me get the link out there real quick. But yeah, you were making the point about Daenerys um, turning too quickly, turning back to you know basically what her father was or was reported to be.
Yeah, exactly, man. There was no thought put behind it. Like, she should have had a story progression. Even all the cast of the show were all disappointed with it. That alone is just,
Yeah,
that's more than enough to tell you that they dropped the ball big.
yeah. I mean, when the cast is upset with how it goes, that's a problem. Absolutely, because that means they're not putting their heart into the acting, into their job,
Right.
because they don't believe in the scene, they don't believe in the direction it's going. That makes for a terrible show.
It really does. And you noticed how, like, you could just see the falling apart between John and Daenerys, and they could have elaborated on that further, but they rushed it. That was their biggest mistake, was they rushed the whole thing, and
Yeah.
I think it wrecked the franchise.
Um, I mean, I think you're still gonna find a ton of. Obviously, you're gonna find a ton of fans, right? Even people with the criticisms. I mean, that's kind of what you do in a fandom.
Right.
Part of being in a fandom is making jokes to other people that are in the fandom about how shitty the fandom is. Star Wars
Right, but
fans especially
also
do that.
right, but if we're going to get on the topic of fandom, let's compare fandom here. We got Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, 8 seasons of a single TV show, but then look at the fandom of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, it's much larger. I mean, it's
And that
much.
was just 3 movies that started with, but the key was they did it right.
Yeah.
They ended with a bang to the point where they could elaborate. They left just enough open where you could travel into the future,
Yep.
and they even took it to the past because the cult like following that the trilogy had for so long that
Yeah.
it grew into its own entity. And that is the proper way to build a franchise, which they could have easily done with this, because you could have had movies in the theater, you could have had spin-off shows, you could have had video games, you could have kept this going for as long as possible. You had an entire universe created with all these amazing characters that people love and relate to,
Yeah.
and you threw it all away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's how I see it.
Unfortunately, that happens way too many times with like book to movie interpretations. Like if you go, if you take something that's a very popular book and you move it to a movie, um, that's what they did to poor Aragon. I don't know if you're familiar with the Aragon series,
I
but
saw the first one and I didn't particularly care for it. I knew
oh,
it was based on a book.
yeah, you're
I'm
talking
not
about the movie. The
huge
movie
into the
was
fantasy
awful.
stuff.
That's what I was gonna say. The movie is just fucking god awful, terrible, and it shut down any more chances they had to make those books. Because those books are amazing, they really are. But that movie is just an abomination.
Yeah, so they killed it before it ever even got started. That
Right.
happens too.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
I,
really really unfortunate because
yeah,
it's such
I
a
mean,
great story, but
yeah, there are so many things out there that have built themselves into like phenomenons. I mean, you have the Marvel and DC universes.
hmm
You got you got the Star Wars universe. Here you could have had the Ice and Fire universe, where you could have just built and elaborated, and just you could have made more out of it. But now you left such a sour taste in even diehard fans' mouths that
yeah,
it would take you 20 years before you can release something else without it bombing.
yeah. I mean, I know Martin's working on George R. R. Martin's working on a new book. Like he's working on the next book, from what I've heard.
He's been working on that book for what,
Yeah,
8 years?
something
He,
like that. Yeah,
yeah,
since the
it's
show
coming out
started.
next year. He said
Yeah,
that in 2015. Like he wanted to finish the book series before the show, and he never. I guess he just stopped giving a shit.
yeah. I mean, he got all the show money, so he's like, "Fuck it, I don't need to work now." Like,
Tell me about it.
yeah.
And I know they paid big money for that script, for the screen rights rather.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope they did at least. I hope he got his money.
I would
Cause
hope so.
yeah. Oh man. I mean, I don't know
Especially,
anything about him himself, like as a person, but I mean, he absolutely deserves it. Deserves all that
yeah, I
money.
mean, it is a best-selling book series. All five of the books I know were New York Times bestsellers.
It makes sense. Um,
Absolutely. But unfortunately, people get greedy or they get lazy or they just lose faith in something, and this is what happens. Very disheartening.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, but let's get back to more like the actual Game of Thrones. Let's do top five characters.
Oh, yes. To me, top five characters, definitely number one has got to be Tyrion.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Tyrion is the most interchangeable character. You could put him in almost any type of scenario and he fits. He
Right.
works.
Yeah, and they do.
That,
They put him in all kinds of different situations.
yep. I
Yeah.
would say number two, excuse me, number two after that would be Jon Snow.
Okay.
Your obvious hero and symbol of righteousness, because he always tried to do the right thing.
Right.
The next one, I guess, would be Daenerys. The strong leader quality of a woman who you thought for the longest time was the rightful heir to the throne, and she was another symbol of righteousness, but then all of a sudden became the greatest evil.
Right. Yeah, that is a good.
Which
Yeah.
Yeah, which brings me back to my point. If they had taken the full 10 seasons, man, they could have built her into like
And
bigger than like more evil and worse than Satan.
well, that, and I think they could have actually made it more ambiguous as to whether or not she was evil.
Yeah, that would have been another
You
great
know,
way to go too.
like going through more subtle cruelties as opposed to just kind of straight up. I'm just gonna murder everyone.
Yeah,
You know, so that way there's no nuance to that. Okay, you're murdering
yeah,
everyone. Yes, now you're evil. Like,
yep.
you know.
And I would say the next character would have to be Mormont.
Oh, Jorah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
definitely
was a
him
good character.
because yeah, he was the guy you just felt bad for throughout the entire series.
Yeah, he did. Well, he kind of fucked himself, and then
He, he did.
he did go through some shit to pay up, make up for it or whatever. Um, but yeah, that's it is. He's a sad story. Um, something that you really feel for sure.
Exactly. And oof. For me personally, my own personal taste, next on the list would be Yara Greyjoy.
Interesting.
I just thought she was fucking hot.
I think she's got like this. I don't know. There's something off-putting about her face to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like her expression.
Yeah, it's her expression. She just has that cunty look on her face.
Yeah, she does look like she's about to ask for someone's manager,
Yeah,
like at any
that
moment.
Karen face.
Yeah, just that like she's got shit on her upper lip and you know.
Yeah, I hope she saw the movie Waiting.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that was a good movie too. Have you seen the second one at all? Still
Nope.
waiting. I haven't either. I don't want to watch it just because it would
Yeah,
ruin it
I'm
for me.
sorry. When your top actor in the movie is Luis Guzman, it's not a movie I want to watch.
Yeah, he was a good like side character in that
Yeah, he
movie.
was good as Pachanga in Carlito's Way, and he was great in Vice City. But to him
Yeah,
carry a movie, that's
I
not
don't
gonna
think
happen.
so. Yeah,
No, no way.
he's a supporting actor for sure.
Right? Yeah, he's a bit player.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so for my top five though, I'm gonna go Tyrion. Obviously, I agree
Yep.
with that. Number one. My second would be Arya. Arya Stark, just
Mm,
because of what she went through, like the transformation she made. Going from like she was always kind of like the tomboy kind of deal, but then after hearing about and then eventually seeing, her brother be killed, Rob Stark being killed. He didn't see her being. He didn't see. Sorry, she didn't see him being killed, but she saw like his body with the wolf head. After the red wedding. Um,
Yep.
that was kind of a turning point for her when she's like, I'm gonna take matters into my own hands and not try and, you know, rely on other people at all. And that's when, shortly after that is when she went to Bravos and, went to the Faceless Men over
Yep.
there. And that part was awesome. That's probably one of my favorite parts
Oh
of
yeah,
the
I
entire
definitely
show.
enjoyed her journey.
Yeah, hers was insane. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, just like everything she went through, she became a total badass. She went to kind of having to rely on other people to get places. Like she was first of all going to the wall, and you know being taken here and there and over there, and you know she kind of became more independent that way. So that was pretty
Yep.
sweet. Uh, Third would probably be Jon Snow for the reasons that you outlined.
Yep.
That was really good. Um, let's see, number four. Number four would probably have to be Littlefinger, Peter Baelish, because
Yeah.
he was pretty manipulative, and just like the moves that he made, you can see like once he's made the move, and you can like look back at what he's been doing, you can see kind of the setup for them, um, like the ways that they're going to um, like benefit him, and like the scale that he's thinking on. He's not just
Oh
thinking
yeah.
of what's going on around him. He's thinking about the entire world all the time, and that's
Yeah, and
pretty
he
incredible.
was the worst kind of threat because he was a threat that waited in the shadows.
Right, and he didn't have like a castle that you could take, to stop him or armies to kill. Like he was just one man who gained people's trust
Yep.
and was safe that way. It's
And I will say, his final scene
Oh
when
yeah,
Sansa looked over at him and just said his name after reading all those charges, that's one of the few times watching TV in my life where I was just like, "Whoa!" Like actually like out loud,
yeah,
where they just threw me for a total curveball and I was impressed.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it was real. It was a really good scene too. Especially that
Yeah,
Arya
see
was the
that
one to do it. You know.
that was what made it could have made the show a real like an epic type of show like a Star Wars in that category for things like that. Spinning the story around where it actually works out the way, well, the right way, or at least the way you want it to work out.
Yeah, yeah,
And it makes
exactly.
sense how they get to it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's just that's why that's part of what obviously makes it such a great show is the ability
Right.
that like you'll be thinking like, okay, someone's gonna die soon. It's been a while since someone's died. Someone that we care about has died. So I think it's gonna be this person because for X Y Z reason, and then it's just totally not that person. It's someone else. Um,
Right.
it's really cool the way they do that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But my fifth one would probably be. I mean, it would be Khal Drogo if he had lasted longer, but I'm gonna have to go with Daenerys on that one for number five. Obviously, for the same reasons, her story is just awesome. It takes so
Yeah.
long to develop. You can see her going from like a scared child to the strength of a leader, a true leader.
Right.
So
Somebody who could have actually been a good queen had she not all of a sudden reverted back to her childhood thoughts and gotten insecure and jealous
yeah,
and distrusting. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, great story arc. The rise and fall of one of the greatest.
Talking about Daenerys.
Yes.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, it's one of those. It's like so. There's a saying that there's like 12 scripts in Hollywood, and Game of Thrones uses them all, which is really nice.
Mm.
So that's one of them. The arc, the rise and the fall, which usually leads into a second movie, but with a TV show that can just end in that character dying.
Yeah.
But usually that leads into a second movie of like redemption or whatever. But um, yeah, I mean, there's tons of them. There's the hero's journey, um, with Bran. Uh, I guess Daenerys kind of has the hero's journey a little bit, but it comes with the fall at the end. Doesn't end at the peak like most of the time. But I mean, yeah, there's just every kind of like writing trope you can have is in Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah, for
doesn't.
Daenerys, I
Go ahead.
would give her more the rise of the ruler as opposed to like a hero's journey. I wouldn't consider her a hero because, in some degrees, yes, but her acts of heroics were for political reasons as well as just to bolster her numbers so she could go after her specific goal.
Yeah,
I would say the hero's journey definitely would fall under Bran,
yeah.
Arya. Um, yeah, I guess you could say Jon Snow, but at least we picked up his story like in the middle of it.
Yeah,
His
well,
story is the great revelation, and
I mean, there's definitely elements of the hero's journey with Jon Snow. You know,
right,
he was Lord Commander Mormont was the mentor in the hero's journey for him. Um, Obviously, there was the if you follow the hero's journey template, it's a disaster happens or something drives the hero from home. In this case, him not having a place at Winterfell because he's a bastard
yep,
at the time. So there's nothing there for him. He can't inherit anything. Best he can do is join one of these orders, which actually is historically accurate for like medieval era. If you're a third son or a bastard, you could join things like like a holy order of some sort, like a monastery or the clergy.
yep,
Um, or you could be a landless knight, tournament knight, that sort of thing. There's all kinds of things you can still do. So I thought that was interesting that they put that in there. But yeah, so hero's journey, he has to leave home. Uh, this time motivated by himself. Uh, he joins, whatever organization. They're, he doesn't do well at first, and then he gets taken under the wing by a mentor. The mentor dies, and the hero rises to the occasion. Uh, that's pretty much the template, and that follows Jon Snow's story 100%.
yep. And they ended the arc with betrayal.
Right, yeah, which is awesome. There's a good twist to it, but he
Yep.
still is still the hero rising to the occasion, though,
Oh yeah,
because the evil needed to be dealt with. It was just an evil that was unexpected.
yeah. I gotta say, in terms of the actual story structure and how they did it, like it was masterful.
Yeah, 100%.
There was no way they could have done it any better than they did.
Yeah.
And just the and I just love the fact that it turned out to be an HBO series and the sheer brutality of it, as well as the language and everything. That's also a huge help too.
Oh yeah. Like when the Hound, someone was saying, "Oh, we keep the king's peace" or something like that, and Hound's like, "Fuck the king," like that. Like
Yeah,
it's that momentous, like that's not something that's ever said, ever, other than
right.
that one time, really, maybe a couple other times, but same
Yeah.
character who has the
Especially
balls
right
to
in
do that.
front of his face.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, in front of some of his people, like the outlaws that are in that tavern that they always go to.
Yeah,
It's out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, he was saying it there. He's just like fuck the king, and that's what starts that fight. That big
yeah,
fight that they
because he
have.
wanted some chickens.
Yeah, yeah, he wanted the chickens. Yeah,
Yep. And if that guy opened his cunt mouth one more time, he was gonna eat every chicken in the room.
that's right.
Good stuff.
Exactly.
Good scene.
Oh, it's an amazing scene. In fact, you know what? I think I want to change one of my top five to the Hound because he's his character is amazing.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I like his character a lot. He was another one on the hero's journey.
um,
His was a combination
okay,
of the hero's journey along with the road to redemption.
okay, yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Um,
because they had a few guys on redemption roads, like Theon. They had Jorah.
right. Yeah,
They
that's
fucked
true.
up, and then they had to come back.
Yeah, the redemption journey one is very common because no one. What I love about it is that no one is necessarily the good guy. Um,
Right.
I mean, except for the Starks, basically, they're the only really good guys. all of them. Um, I mean, yeah, you had the whole thing with Rob, broke a promise and everything, because he was supposed to marry the Frey girl and marries some medical chick anyway, or instead, I forget what her name was now, but she was pretty unimportant. She was hot though, nice tits.
Oh yeah,
But
indeed.
yeah, um, but yeah. So, but I mean, that's just more like a fuck up. It's not really a moral failing as much
Mm.
as it is like, and like it's dishonorable, sure. Especially in that time when all a man really has is his word, and you break that, and that's a huge. It's a much bigger deal back then than it is now, for sure. Like in some
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
to me, it's a realistic moral to the story that sometimes when you make mistakes, there are consequences for it,
right,
disastrous consequences.
right, including like your death and your mother's death and your wife's death, and like that was just
All your men's death.
yeah, all their deaths too. And then I mean that had disastrous consequences for the War of Five Kings.
Mm.
I mean, having one of the kings drop out like that it's pretty brutal.
Yeah,
It's pretty
and
brutal.
ballsy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I mean, I get it. Obviously, it was ordered by Tywin Lannister, uh, or he offered him a deal. Offered Frey a deal and sent Bolton to kill Robb specifically. Um, which is awesome because like they were saying, Robb had fought the Lannisters and won every single battle and hadn't lost one yet. So he was like, "Oh, well, I can't beat him on the field, so I'm just gonna have him assassinated." That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, smart way to play it.
Yeah,
That's straight out of Sun Tzu right there.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If you can't beat him, you don't just face him straight up. You create an advantage, and having someone else take him out for you, so that it doesn't even get traced back to you, is pretty incredible.
Absolutely. I like how see, I like the fantasy and the obvious classical storytelling mixed into it, but there's also elements of reality where it's not going to go perfect for the hero and he's going to get fucking wrecked and killed. Because I thought Robb Stark was going to be somebody in the story. I
Yeah,
figured Jon Snow would just. I had no idea that that was the direction that they were going to go in. At least at first, like when I watched the first 3 or 4 seasons. And then when I saw him get taken out, I didn't even know what the hell to think.
yeah, yeah. And I know it's incredible. It's just one of the many ways that the show kind of throws you curveballs and makes you kind of question everything you've seen so far. It's
Yeah, I see. I love those shows that keep you on your toes. One of
yeah.
my all-time favorite shows is 24.
Okay, I've never seen it.
That, oh, that dude, the whole deal with that is you got to watch an entire season of it.
Yeah. Okay.
The first season is pretty good, and you got to give it a chance. It's slow to start off, not a whole shit ton of action to begin with, but everything starts to unfold and you see what's happening, it really it really hooks you in. By the time you get through the second season, you're addicted to it.
Damn. All right. Where is that for streaming services?
Oh shit.
Would it be on? Because I've got HBO. I've got. Unfortunately, I have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I know, but I had to see The Mandalorian as a lifelong dedicated Star Wars fan. I
As
could
far
not.
as being offered for free, you can try Netflix. They
Okay.
might have it on there, but otherwise, and I only have Amazon Prime, and I know they have it on there, but they're not offering it for free right now. So you would
Oh
have
man.
to buy the seasons.
Yeah, that sounds lame.
Once in a while, though, they do put it into the rotation where it'll come up for a few months, and then I'll try to watch as many as I can because
Right.
each season actually is 24 episodes. It's all in real time.
Right. It's supposed to be each episode is an hour, right? Like
Yes,
real
it's
time
an
and
hour of
Showtime.
real time.
That is kind of cool. It's a really cool idea. I do like that.
Yeah, like even the ride from one location to another is a major plot point because it's time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you're trying to make shit happen. You're on the phone in the car trying to make moves happen, and the twists and the turns and just the surprises of that show. that was another one that ended on a popcorn fart too.
Oh
Because
man, really?
the last season I really was disappointed with, and then they brought it back for a half season. And what's her name? Catelyn Stark. She played one of the villains in that half season.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I remember when I actually, because I had watched that last season first, and I was really pissed off and disappointed with it. But the first 7 seasons of that show are amazing,
Hmm.
absolutely amazing.
Damn. Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe I will give it a shot because I do like the idea of the hour-long episode, hour of real time. You know what I mean? Like they're not skipping around.
Right. Yeah, everything is in real time. The acting is good. The
Hmm.
characters, you meet some characters in there, and it's like you really wish they were real.
Yeah.
Like the guy that ends up being president in the show, it's like you really wish this guy was president because he
Oh
actually has character.
yeah.
And then there's other guys they hit a little bit too close to fucking home, if you know what I mean.
mm. Yeah. I think
Yeah, there's
so.
a character in the show. I'm trying not to spoil it for you. He eventually becomes president, but he's another professional weasel. And the cool thing is, when you look at him, the first thing you're going to think of is Adam Schiff. Good casting,
Yeah. Yeah.
great casting.
Well, speaking of that, I think Game of Thrones did a really good job with that as well, with casting. I
Absolutely,
I couldn't
everybody
see.
was perfect in their role.
Yeah, and even described in the books, they're all pretty accurate to how they were described. I think Brienne was like made to be more pretty in the show than she was described in the books. She was actually described as actually being ugly, not just like freakishly big, but she was also
Well,
described as actually being really ugly. Whereas Brienne of Tarth in the show isn't that ugly. She's not like
dude,
conventionally
dude,
pretty.
have you ever seen her made up?
No.
She's not ugly at all. She's actually very nice looking.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, is
She's a
she
little
actually
bit
that
older
tall?
now.
Is
Like
she?
she's a little bit older, but I
Yeah.
mean, she was actually really nice looking, and the fact that she's 6'2"
I was gonna
really
say
helped
yeah.
out. She's
Yeah.
kind of she's kind of like what Bridget Nielsen should have turned into had she stayed healthy and gotten off the pills and coke.
Damn. um. But yeah. So, what do you think about like Sansa's journey?
I liked hers as well. I felt really, really bad for her, but at the same time, it was a good thing that she went through all of that because it helped her become the great ruler that they started to paint her into towards the last season.
Yeah, she was much more like her father.
Yes,
Towards the end, where she's very stern but fair.
right.
She
She
didn't.
was reasonable. She would listen,
Hmm.
but if you fucked up, you paid the price.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Exactly.
that's a legitimate leader.
Yeah.
That's what this world needs.
Yeah.
Our world, at least.
To be a good leader, though, you do have to instill a small amount of fear, like 80% respect, 20% fear. Um.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I have you ever seen the movie A Bronx Tale?
No, I have not.
That is a great movie. It was actually the first movie that Robert De Niro directed, and he also played a small part in it too.
Oh, okay.
This movie you want to check out? It's a kid is sitting in the bar with a local mob boss. He looks him in the eye and asks him the most important question in the world: Is it better to be loved or feared? And the
Oh yeah.
boss's response was, uh, "It's yeah." He said, "It's a very good question. It's a very difficult question to answer. It's nice to be both, but it's very difficult. But if I had the choice, I would rather be feared, because fear lasts longer than love."
Hmm. Hmm. I think respect lasts longer than love as well. Um. You can love someone who just like hands you money or something, but as soon as that stops, or as soon as like if they ask you like something unreasonable, you're just not gonna do it. Like buying loyalty, basically,
Right.
isn't a thing. But if you really believe in that person, you can follow them through some bullshit. And when you're talking about like ruling, especially if you're talking about like a medieval era kind of deal, where you're in charge of a castle. Yeah, you need a little bit of fear in there. People need to know, don't fuck up, don't you know especially don't betray me, don't sell my secrets, those sorts of things.
Right.
Um, that's important to instill a little bit of fear. But mostly it should be, I wouldn't betray you because I like you, I respect you
Right.
is mainly the deal.
Ex-
But people can be bought, for temporary loyalty. So that will
Yep.
sometimes override the loyalty factor and or respect factor. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thought on that. With Sansa though, uh, yeah, I actually didn't like her story at first. Like the very first kind of deal when she starts finally going through things with Joffrey and you know, um,
And I know where your opinion of her changed.
okay.
Right when she got with Ramsay.
Oh
Because
well.
you felt sorry for her
Oh
at that
yeah,
point because you knew what she was in store for.
absolutely. And yeah, that whole thing in making like Theon watch that was so fucked up. Yeah,
Yep. And how she got out of it and moved on and developed from there. You basically you gained a whole like new level of, I guess you could say, respect or admiration,
yeah,
whatever it could be.
absolutely.
That yeah, masterfully done. Storytelling at its finest.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, every character, the story was brilliantly well told. I think they could, I think they should have gone a little bit more elaborative into the Night King.
Yeah, I would like to know some lore about them. Obviously, the Children of the Forest created them. Um,
Yeah, the girl that looks like a tree. She stuck him with the
yeah.
wooden dagger. Then all of a sudden he turned blue and got really cold, and that's all we know.
Well, it was like the obsidian dagger, and the only way to end it was another obsidian dagger or something like that. Like it was. At least I'm pretty sure she stuck him with the obsidian. Or, I don't know,
Yeah, it was either that or it was Valerian steel.
but like those things, in at least in the lore, wouldn't have brought someone back unless they added something like they enchanted the dagger, or the whatever. But
Could
yeah,
be.
I mean that's all we really know about that is that they created one, or they created a few like the other White Walkers too, and then those people raised the dead, and had them become a massive army and a huge threat to all life. But it was like a move of desperation that the Children of the Forest had to use to like fight back the first men who had showed up and were
Yep.
waging war on them. But other than that, we don't really know anything. Like, what does he do during summer, like before winter comes?
Right.
Because he's obviously in hibernation or of some sort. I mean, is he thinking the whole time, and that's why he's so brilliant? I don't know. You know, because he's a brilliant guy. I mean,
Yeah, you could tell he's an experienced general that led an entire army.
well, I mean, so presumably they're under his control though. So it's not like he's got to earn their respect or anything. It's just kind of you do what I say. So he's obviously extremely powerful magically, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of magic in the show, which is another thing I really love because that's something I hate about fantasy when there's like a high magic system, like a high, just
Yeah,
magic
they
everywhere.
overdo it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it had just the right amount of magic, including the fact that you could just be like, wait, is that even real magic or is it just something that people do, like rituals that
Right.
people do? Because you have like the red priestess.
Yep.
Um, I think she was doing legitimate magic. I mean, at least the bringing people back from the dead, was legitimate magic. It had to have been.
Yeah, at first when she was with Stannis Baratheon and she was sacrificing people and then just looking into the flames, yeah, she was definitely easily questioned at that point. But when she raised Jon Snow, that's when you knew she was the real deal.
Right, and the other guy, with the one eye guy, had been raised from the dead like 6 times or 7 times or something, um, by the other red priest guy, the drunk guy that was with them, in the cave when
Yeah, what were they, like the Order of Light or something?
they were shit. I forget what they were called. I forget what they were called too.
Yeah, he was allowed to keep rising up until that last time when they basically just turned him into ground beef.
Right. Well, yeah, yeah. But it was always like the Lord of Light has brought you back for a purpose. Which that kind of that either shows that there's real magic and they're bringing them back and they're attributing it to a god, or at least that one god in their universe is real.
Yeah.
You don't really get evidence of other ones. Any of the seven or the old gods, the forest gods. You
Yeah,
don't really get evidence of
definitely
that.
something they could have elaborated on a little bit more.
Well, I think there are books that do. Much
All
like
right.
much like with Star Wars, there's like the expanded universe stuff. So they
Yeah,
have
I always wondered if there were like little extensions and stuff, because that stuff helps to put everything into context.
right, yeah, absolutely. Because they kind of talk about it, but they don't really go into depth on the religions that they have.
Right.
They just kind of speak as though you should already know. You know what I mean? Like if someone's trying to tell you about Christianity, you already know the basics of it. You already kind of know. Okay, well, Jesus Christ was a person. He's supposed to be God, uh, in human flesh, and was crucified and came back 3 days later. Like the basics of those tenets. You can work off of. Um, talking to someone in a conversation with that understanding that they probably know at least that much, and that they kind of do that in Game of Thrones when they talk about
Yeah.
the gods. There's never really a lot of explanation. It's just
Yeah,
kind of
even when they did the whole story arc with the sparrows,
yeah.
very little discussed about the actual religious order. You just knew that there was some kind of control freak fanatics. Basically, I guess they're supposed to be like their version of ISIS.
Well, they're like yeah, or like the Spanish Inquisition, or well, I think it was
Yeah.
more like the Inquisition because they would break into people's either places of business or houses and drag them out into the streets and naked and make them walk around and do whatever. Um,
Right.
yeah, so they were more. I think they were more like Spanish Inquisition, but yeah, like ISIS as well. Because I mean, what did, yeah, they had people executed, right? So
As far as I know, yes.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember who it was.
And they made Cersei do the walk of shame.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Which that was incredible. That scene. That was really cool.
well, you know that whole thing was a CGI, right?
Was it? Like obviously
Yeah,
she
that
wasn't.
wasn't actually Lena Headey's body.
Oh really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay. Was she just wouldn't do it, or she was like fucked up down there, or like what's what's the
Uh, I don't know, but probably because she just didn't want to do it, but they needed the character to do it. So as far as I know, that was all a CGI.
That's crazy. It was. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was really good because I fall for that shit all the time.
Yeah.
I'm really bad about seeing the difference unless it's like, unmistakable. I'm
Yeah,
pretty bad about seeing it.
I mean that could be a rumor and all. I mean, that could have actually been her, but I did hear from more than one source that it was a CGI, and it also explains why they cut her hair.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because it would have
Because
gone
yeah,
past her
because to
body.
fake an image, it's a hell of a lot easier to do it with somebody with either short or no hair than it is, especially her. She had that long, long hair. It's
Oh
really
yeah,
difficult.
it went down like past her tits. Like it was long as
Oh,
hell.
well past,
Yeah,
like almost all the way
like
down her back.
right to like yeah, probably down to her waist.
Yeah, I know it was a wig and everything. She was just wearing it for the show,
Yeah.
but she did have like shoulder length hair prior to that.
Okay.
And even having that would make it difficult to, I guess, to blend the image, which
Hmm.
is why they ended up cutting her hair short. I think
No, I mean
that seems to
that
make
makes
sense.
sense. That makes sense. It makes sense with the story too. Although I did wonder why they didn't shave it completely and just kind of left her with like the top.
Yeah,
But
probably because Lena Headey said, "Fuck that."
yeah, yeah. I don't
I
know.
don't blame her because your hair never grows back the same way after you shave your head down to the scalp.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean that's true.
It's
Hmm.
like hitting the reset button.
Yeah. Interesting. Hmm. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of the best shows in TV history, I think.
Oh yeah. That's definitely one of my favorite shows. Now, I'm actually going through it a second time with my roommate because he's never seen
Nice.
it. So I was like, after I watched the entire thing, I was like, listen. Like, you need to watch this. You'll love it. And so I made the same deal with the 2 episode deal. That's what I always say when someone offers me, offers to watch a new show with me. They're like, "No,
Yep.
you got to see this show. You got to see it. You got okay. I'll give you 2 episodes. You know, if I'm hooked, then I'll keep watching. But if not, I'm done after 2 episodes. Um,
All right. I could think of one show you have to go beyond 2 episodes.
there's a lot of them. That's why I never watched Breaking Bad. I watched 3 episodes of Breaking Bad, and I never
And
watched any more after that.
wow, really? I was just gonna mention that show. I love that show too.
I know a lot of people do. I just same thing with The Walking Dead. I couldn't do it. I don't like shows that don't hook me right at the beginning.
Yeah, The Walking Dead hooked me right away, right from the first episode, and I watched that probably up until like the fifth or sixth season, and then I totally lost interest in it. But one show I enjoyed from beginning to end was Sons of Anarchy.
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
I might
dude.
watch that. I've heard a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
things
one I
about
could
it.
get Mrs. RRC on here to discuss with you. She's watched that series probably the whole series all the way through, probably 4 or 5 times.
Damn. I
She
mean,
loves that show.
yeah. I mean, I've done that with like shows like My Name Is Earl. I've seen that. That's only like 3 seasons though, so it's not like it's a ton. But that's one of the shows that I loved. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Dude,
Um,
have you seen Randy?
yeah, he's all like buff. He's
He's a
ripped.
fucking
He's
bodybuilder
fucking
now. He's
ripped,
he's
dude.
scary looking.
I know it's crazy because like the
He's
thing
come a
is,
long way from Frankie the Enforcer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or he was also in Clerks 2 for a moment.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. He
just a
was in.
moment.
He was also in Remember the Titans. He had to be 500 pounds in that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
He
he
was
was in that.
massive in that movie.
He was in that movie. That's crazy
Yep.
how someone can go from, looking like he did to
Looking like him now.
yeah,
Yeah.
just absolutely fucking ripped.
Yeah, I always said if they ever did a real life SpongeBob SquarePants, he should have played Patrick while he was fat.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. He's got the fat slack jaw kind of dumb look on him. I can
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you just put a pointy scalp fucking prosthetic on top of his head and he's Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. Oh shit. So yeah, I'm probably gonna end this in a minute. We've been going about almost an hour. But
Yep.
if there's anything else you want to bring up about Game of Thrones, any characters, any plot points, scenes that you loved,
Uh,
anything like that?
let's see. I did enjoy. I definitely liked the way that Sansa said goodbye to Ramsay.
Yes. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
was incredible. That was
Clegane
just
Bowl was fun.
which one?
Clegane Bowl.
Oh yes, yeah, that was really cool, and I like how they both ended up, dying. That was pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
I think they should have gave them at least another 5 minutes. I would have given those two because we waited the entire fucking series
Yeah.
for that one fight. We all waited for it, and then when it finally happens, it's over in less than 2 minutes.
Well, like the first time they show you the fight, like those two fighting,
Yeah,
at the
that's what
tournament
it was
ground.
kind of like a little taste of what's to come towards the end of the series. We all knew it was coming. It was just like to me, that was one of those I enjoyed it, but at the same time I felt cheated. It's kind of like back in the day when Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champion and you just spent $75 on a pay-per-view fight and he knocks the guy out in 8 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, which is
It's
why
like you're
I think
happy you won, but at the same time you're pissed because you just spent $75 for an 8 second fight.
right. Yeah, which is why I think that UFC did a better thing with that when they instead of doing like the one fight, that's what you're paying for. It's
Yeah.
several fights and then the main event.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's a much better way of doing it because at least if the main event is short, at least you had an hour,
Yeah,
2 hours of other
Tyson was the
fights.
inspiration for that
I
because just
imagine,
in
yeah.
case they did have a 10-second fight, you're all good to go because even boxing started doing it
Oh,
where
okay.
they'd start showing the preliminaries on the pay-per-view as opposed to just that one fight.
Right. I mean, I would think that you would show the preliminaries anyway, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just 2020. You guys
Back
didn't
in
put
the
out,
80s, it used to
right.
like they would show the preliminaries on HBO, but Tyson had to pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
That's
Huh.
how they did it. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
after that, they realized it was a mistake, so they would They actually HBO had a deal with a lot of the pay-per-view carriers out there where they would alternate. Sometimes Tyson would fight on HBO, sometimes it would be on pay-per-view.
Right.
And whichever one got whichever one's turn it was in the rotation, they would also get the preliminaries for that night too.
Yeah.
So this way, HBO wasn't hogging all of that up, and then fucking all of a sudden, viewers' choice or whoever else you're using out there, they get 10,000 calls because they're pissed because Tyson knocked the guy out before the signal on their old brown cable box cleared up.
Right.
I remember those days when cable was like an analog thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't think we always had satellite. Like we had that big ass dish in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like the huge dish that I got in trouble for playing around because you knock it
Yeah,
out of
all
the
they
thing.
are, unfortunately, now all they are just oversized bird baths. They don't work anymore.
Yeah, yeah. My parents even got rid of their DirecTV subscription like years ago, a couple years ago, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And they just use like Chromecast, which I use Chromecast too. It's phenomenal.
I don't even I barely even watch TV. I mean, I just keep Amazon Prime mostly because I have a lot of stuff shipped to me, and I
Hmm.
like having the streaming service. That once in a while something will come on. Like they just offered the first 5 seasons of the show Chicago PD on Prime, where you get them free for a month or two.
Chic.
So she and I we started watching those, me and the wife,
Yep.
and she got really into it. She likes it. I think it's a good show too. Another good show, very good storytelling and great characters. And but other than that, I don't even bother with TV anymore because especially with TV now, it's all garbage. It's even worse than it was when
Oh
we were
yeah.
kids.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. I don't
And
watch
especially
like shows.
reality TV has ruined the art of TV itself.
Yeah, it's even ruined the art of reality TV. Like there used to
Yeah.
be some decent reality TV shows, and then it just I don't know what happened. I never really got into that fad too much. There were a couple shows that I watched that were cool. Uh, like there was this one, Solitary. I think it was like Solitary Confinement or something like that, or I forget what it was called, but it was basically like all the contestants spent several weeks like isolated from everyone else, um, in their own little cube that had like it had like a main room where the cameras were, and it had like a little bedroom and bathroom off to the side. But and they would do contests and stuff against the other like seven contestants that are in cubes around them.
Yep.
So they'd have to do like crazy shit like finding or solving a puzzle or finding something, uh, solving a riddle, or there were challenges, like exercise challenges and stuff that were just go until you stop. But you have to be the first, second, or third one, to win, or else you get eliminated and you get kicked out. But you never knew when someone else stopped because you couldn't see anyone else. So it was just kind of you against yourself, going as long as you can. It was really cool.
They they still have that show?
I don't know. Um, I would absolutely recommend it if you can find it. I think it was called Solitary, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This
Yeah,
was
I'll
like
have to
a.
look that up because if anything, I want to see if I can try out for it.
Oh yeah, dude, I would love to see you on there.
I could use a couple of weeks without any headaches. Hopefully my wife isn't watching this because otherwise
Yeah,
I'm fucking dead.
right. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's like a cash prize for it too. If you win, it was a really good show. They would do shit like that would keep people up, keep people awake. So they'd have like sirens going off all the time, so you can't sleep. Like, and so you'd be all sleep
They ain't
deprived.
met me yet. I could sleep through police sirens and dogs barking. Just
Hell
don't
yeah.
shoot a gun next to my head. That might wake me up.
Might, yeah, that might.
But as long as the alarm is just complete and just constant and steady, then yeah, I can sleep through that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you'd have an edge then. But yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's. I doubt it's still on. There's no way.
I'll just go in there and sleep for 2 months. I don't give a shit. Fuck your
just
puzzles.
just find the place.
Yeah. I want to see you motherfuckers out. Let's do some real isolation.
Yeah.
That'll last me. Stick your puzzles up your ass.
Oh man. All right. With that, yeah, we're at about an hour now, so I'll go ahead and end it here. But yeah, RRC man, thanks so much for coming on here and talking to me about this. Um,
Absolutely, brother.
yeah, man, that was fun. I think we got some good insight. Um, I think we pretty much agree on most of the things for good and bad things.
Indeed.
Disagreed a little bit on the top five characters, but I mean that's all subjective anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, that was fun. Why don't you tell anyone who doesn't know you and might be seeing this later on where they can find you and what you do and all that kind of nonsense.
All right. Well, you can find me on YouTube, D Live, Periscope, Mixer. I got a BitChute channel, a Patreon. I'm on Twitter at the RRC Podcast. I'm on Parlor. I have a Discord as well. I got everything you can possibly imagine except Instagram because fuck Instagram. I even have a Facebook page.
Well, you
And
chose
as a matter
Facebook
of
over
fact,
Instagram.
what's that?
You chose Facebook over Instagram. That's interesting.
Yeah, personally, I just think of Instagram as Twitter for people that are illiterate.
But you know they're owned by the same company, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just making sure. Like it wasn't some
yeah,
kind
I
of
know. Yeah, I
company thing.
just I remember Facebook from back in the day because I had one years ago, and it's just easier to control my fan page on there.
Fair
Plus,
enough.
I don't want to have to compete with those jiggly muppets over there on fucking Instagram with their plastic asses and tits. There's no way I can outsell them.
I don't know, man. I think
So,
you got some nice tits. I just want to put that
oh
out
yeah,
there.
thanks.
Yeah.
You're a real pal. But but yeah, as a matter of fact, this coming Monday, we're doing a D Live drive where if you stop by my YouTube channel, we're going to be streaming all day. We're going to be recommending all different types of creators that you can find here on YouTube, but you can also find on D Live because the market is changing. And for guys that tend to discuss non-mainstream talking points such as conservatives, libertarians, independents, and just plain free thinkers, we're all systematically getting pushed off of YouTube, and we need to move to a new platform. And I think D Live, out of all of them, offers more than all of the other ones. So that's why we're pushing as hard to D Live as we are. And you guys are on D Live too.
Yes. Yes. Correct. We are.
Yeah,
We only have a few people over there, but they're very active over there. It's really nice.
right, and
So
that's what we're aiming to do because we're going to help you guys out too, along with Jay Edgar,
hell
Stephen
yeah.
Ignoramus, and I got a slew of other creators who I'm going to be promoting throughout the day. And that's going to be one of those days where I'm going to tell the fans, save your money. You don't need to donate to me. Just follow these creators. Give them a chance.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And like I told you off Mike, I'll be showing up at some point in the evening
Yep.
as well to hang out with you for a bit.
Yep. You'll be joining me. I'm going to have Pete the Patriot and Alex from the Disabled Vets Perspective channel with me. I believe American Joe is going to join at some point during the day. I'm still working on a few other ones, but definitely names that people know and love.
Hell yeah. All right. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thanks again for stopping by, and yeah, we'll see you all you guys later.
Good night, folks.